Sixers. 10, 9, 8, 76ers.
Hello everyone, this is UK 76ers. My name is Ben Glasswell, and the night before last, the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Boston Celtics by 106 points to 96, completing the sweep of the Celtics, the first time we've done that since 2001, and we all know what happened that season. We, of course, got to the NBA Finals, if that's something to cling on to. Now, in my last video, I was pretty upset and angry about the Memphis game, and once again, the beauty of basketball showed itself yet again, because within 24 hours of releasing that video, I was extremely happy because this performance was astonishingly good. Look, it's always fun to beat the Celtics, but this isn't the same Celtics team we've seen in previous years. They're struggling for depth. They're obviously missing a few pieces. They're missing an actual five. But just nonetheless, to come back against a team that swept us 4-0 in the playoffs last year, to then sweep them this season in the regular season, it bodes really well for us and does show how far we've come over this last however many months. Before we dive into everything, USA Sports Merch are once again providing you guys with some fantastic sports merch from the United States, from the Big Four leagues. Use the link in the description below. It helped me out a ton as well as those guys. Visible have once again provided me some awesome stats. As they so often do. You guys can check those out in the link again I'll provide below, which you can go through any game and look at any player's stats, and it makes enjoying basketball that much more better, in my opinion. Me and Bobby have recorded a podcast the other week. Again, the links will be down below, and we're recording one on Friday, so that'll be up for you shortly. And finally, I've recently released some merch of my own. If you guys want to check it out, that'll be linked below, and I want to give a special thanks to the guys that actually, did all the legwork with getting all that together. So thanks very much to you guys. You know who you are. But let's talk about this game. As it so often has been in recent encounters with the Boston Celtics, it's been Embiid versus perimeter shooting, if that makes sense. So it's just been Embiid carrying the load for us versus the Celtics just trying to outshoot us from behind the arc. And the first quarter kept up with that trend massively. It was 25-24 to us. So we wasn't even by just a single point by the end of it. Embiid had about 12 points, I wanted to say, from that first quarter, and it was all so easy. Everyone before the game was like, oh, Robert Williams can maybe do a number on him, perhaps slow him down. And I'm not going to knock Robert Williams. I'm sure he is a good centre in his own right. But the thing is, we've seen better centres than Robert Williams get destroyed by Joel Embiid. It's not a knock on the guy. I'm sure he is a good centre. It's just he's up against a world-class one. It's just one of those things, and Williams did end up getting fouled out, and that's just part and parcel of playing Joel Embiid. He's just that good. But Embiid had about 12 points. He ended up going to the line 20 times this whole game. He probably had about 6 to 8 free throws in that first quarter alone. But, he was making us... We're playing fantastically well, but the Celtics just kept coming back. They just kept coming back solely because of their three-point shooting that I was alluding to. Marcus Smart had this stupid 4-point play, which is so typical of Marcus Smart against the Sixers. I mean, his three-point shooting is streaky as it is, but whenever it's against the Sixers, he'll hit the most obnoxious three-pointers, and it looked like it was going to be one of those games where the same thing was happening, but thankfully that did manage to tail off. Simmons missed his first 4 free throws, and his free throw shooting is, look, we know it's not brilliant, but it's weird how he can always go from hitting 10 of 12 to hitting 2 of 7, and both of these outcomes are normal. It's something he just really needs to work. We've talked about the three-point shooting, of course we have, even the mid-range shooting. But if he could just nail his free throws, just really sort it out, because his technique doesn't look awful. If he could just sort that out so that we've got a consistent, reliable free throw shooter in Simmons, then that's incredibly invaluable, and the rest of it will work out when we do. Jaylen Brown, God, he's come leaps and bounds since he last played again. Well, since last season and even the season before that. His mid-range shooting is so physical as well. I think it's quite an underrated part of his game. He's got a lot of strength. He's very physical. Three-point shooting is not. He'll just pull the trigger right there and then. And he had some early joy against us. 2 3-pointers, in that first quarter. And I was thinking, oh God, here we go. Like I said, it's like the Marcus Smart thing. It's like the Kemba Walker thing. It's how these players always seem to turn up against us, especially from behind the 3-point line. Kemba hit one again. Kemba's been awful this season. We know how good a player he can be. I remember he hit that 60-point game for Charlotte against us. He always seems to come alive against us. He essentially just goes around the picks and then has a shot, and then he always seems to be able to score. It's something that is inherently an issue we have with this team, is that our pick and roll defense is so poor that ball handling guards like Kemba Walker have an absolute field day, like Trae Young, they have an absolute field day because we just don't defend the screens well enough. But yeah, he had the hottish start, I guess. But again, it all just tailed off, and that's a testament to what we were doing towards the latter stages of this game. But we're looking at their 3-point percentage. I've got it here. In that first quarter, the Celtics were 5 of 11. We were 1 of 4. Sort of illustrates the disparity, and it was that 3-point shooting keeping in that game in that first quarter. But then in that second quarter, that's when we started to get a nice bit of distance between us and the Celtics, and obviously resulting in our win. But one thing that did annoy me was Ben Simmons passing up looks, and I alluded to it in our last game. He's on a bit of a downturn in form. There has been revealed that as a few home issues potentially come to the fore, and I don't know the fine details. I don't want to speculate, but they sound pretty horrible. So he is human. If these things can get in the way of basketball, and I wish him all the best, sorting that out, and the whole of his family as well. But despite that, a few times he passed up looks. He had it in the open court. He did this against the Grizzlies as well. He had the ball in the open court. He could run and maybe go to the hoop, and then at the very least get fouled. Decided to kick it out to Danny Green, and Danny Green's been fantastic from 3. We know he has. But when we talk about the percentages and the likelihood of actually getting points on the board, you're better off driving yourself. Korkmaz had some early points to his credit. He finished on 10 points overall from the bench because he can't knock the guy. A lot of it was because of the fantastic facilitating from Ben Simmons, finding Korkmaz, finding the open man. But, someone's got to put it in the hoop nonetheless, and Korkmaz was that guy. So, fair play. You can't knock it at all. But, sooner or later, Ben started pushing the offensive game a bit more. He was 4 or 7 from the field at the end, finished on 12 points. And you're sort of like, well, look, you still want more field goal attempts, but it's something. He's sort of clutching a straw that's had. But why we went on this run was because Boston were turning the ball over, and Danny Green was just electric from 3. He had 3 threes in that second quarter, on top of the one he had in the first quarter. And there's just one fantastic play. He was alive on the inbound, stole it, and the one field goal he made from inside the 3-point line was that steal and then an easy layup, and he was fantastic, finishing on 17 points, 5 or 6 from 3-point land. And it was these turnovers that Boston were doing, and they were sloppy. They was alarmingly sloppy. We as Sixer fans, we've seen turnovers completely plague our team for a while. But what Boston were doing, it was stray passes, it was lazy, it was amateurish, really. It was quite astonishing what I was seeing. I don't believe this is a staple of their game. And look, we know they've been poor recently, but this was next level bad, to be quite honest with you. Not that I was complaining too much, but it was astonishingly bad. But we had a few sloppy turnovers on our own. What have I written there? I was pretty frustrated with. But then I've got below that Jason Tatum at the half, 2 of 9, 0 of 5 from 3. That's Ben Simmons. I remember last year when we talked about how Celtics fans were giving it large. I was, even if you had Ben Simmons, you wouldn't have gone through. Probably wouldn't have. But this is the effect the bloke has on Jason Tatum, who's their best player. He goes missing. And I think it's partly also due to Jason Tatum's mentality. He doesn't go looking for points. He seems like if he's locked up, and that's all he's going to do. He's just going to go out his business and just try and stick to his own game, the sidestep, threes and whatever else. That's fine by me. We're 34-22 in that quarter, 59-46 at the half. Third quarter, we maintained it. The Celtics went on a bit of a run. Embiid had this awesome block that just set the tone for the rest of the quarter. Tobias then followed up with an and one, posting up Jaylen Brown. We targeted Jaylen Brown on the post, which I thought was, Jaylen Brown is a good defender, but in the post, we were having our way with him. If that was Simmons, if that was Harris, Embiid never got the opportunity to go on Brown because they were so fixated on him on their center, be that Cornette, Wagner, Williams, whoever, even Taco Fall. But now we had so much joy in the post, not just from Embiid, but from all our other guys. And that was something that, we clearly identified, and we went at it throughout, and they didn't have an answer for it, which was really nice to see. Simmons became more direct. We had an 11-0 run, but the Celtics managed to just crawl back in because of that all-bench lineup, and we've said it so many times before on here, I hate all-bench lineups. I don't want all-bench lineups. There's never a time when this should ever be a necessity for our game. We should never have all-bench lineups. We should always have one of Harris, Simmons, or Embiid on the floor at any one time, and there's no excuse not to have that, to be quite frank. Fourth quarter, professional. All you had to do in that fourth quarter was just maintain your lead. We had a 15-point lead going into it. All you had to do was just not do anything stupid. It was professional throughout. We had these really nice plays. Embiid dunked on Cornet, and then we had a fast break opportunity on the back of a turnover. Simmons to Harris, who dunked again, and that was a nail in the coffin. That's when everyone knew this is a Sixers win. And it was. It finished 106-96. It wasn't the most... Look, as I've alluded to before, it's not the best Celtics team we've ever seen, but it's always fun to beat the Celtics, and it's always fun to get a sweep on them, and to see them completely capitulate like this is always fun. I'm seeing a lot of parallels with what the Celtics are doing with how we went out our business when the Celtics had Kyrie and all that, that starting five that was expected. A lot of them, they failed miserably. Similarly, when we had Al Horford and we had Josh Richardson, people expected quite a lot of them, and we failed. And both of the season after that, we've obviously overachieved. The season after their Kyrie season, they overachieved. A lot of parallels between us, and then people are calling for Celtics to break up their duo of Brown and Tatum. Now, are they most complementary players? No. Do they make the games better than each other? No. But they're good players, and they perhaps just need another guy to come in because that team is rather thin. And I think it's completely ludicrous that people are calling for that. And I do sympathise with Celtic fans somewhat because we've been through the ringer of so many times. Oh, you need to break up Simmons and Embiid. It's like, well, that's not the issue. The issue is not Simmons and Embiid. The issue is what's built around them. And I feel that's a similar sort of predicament with what's going on in the Celtic. They don't have an actual playmaker. Kemba Walker's a scorer, but he's not a playmaker. So they missed the boat on that one a bit as well. And I'm sure they'll figure it out. Well, I hope they don't, but I'm sure they will. So I just think that I want to address that because I think that's just a ludicrous call, and I think it's an issue that we face as Sixer fans, the amount of media members calling for it. And I just think you got to sort of nip it in the bud quite early on and say, well, what they're chatting about is absolutely ludicrous. It's nonsense. It's nonsensical. But that'll be all from me today. Fantastic win. It'll be the trade. No, it's not trade. It'll be the buyout deadline by the time my next video comes up. I'm hoping I'm talking about, fingers crossed, some decent acquisitions made by the Sixers. Currently, I'm not hopeful. Throughout all these videos, I've always talked about how I was hoping and expecting some more moves to be made. It's looking awfully bleak at the moment, I won't lie. But we'll have to wait and see. You never know. Like I said, podcast is getting recorded tomorrow, so it should be up at the weekend as well. Thanks very much for all your support, guys, and I will see you all next time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.